Hi everyone. This is a mess. Anyway, um, so today, as you can see, that I haven't exactly titled the stream because I was thinking that maybe I could pull a big one and read all four remaining chapters. So I don't know. I haven't finished it today, so we could start with a new book tomorrow. Uh, this is exciting. So let's get started. We have a lot of personal anecdotes to share with each other every time we start this live stream. But yesterday, nothing major happened except there was huge technical difficulty. The Wi Fi wasn't on until it was what 5:36, and so we managed to do uh, a recording. I recorded on my laptop, video camera, and I uploaded the video. So technically, that was not a live stream, just two videos of chapter 15 and 16, which I actually tried to merge together as chapter 15 and 16, like in one, but I guess my computer editor wasn't working, so that didn't work out. So we have two separate chapters on video with the same thumbnail, so you probably can figure out that it was part of the live stream. Anyway, Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, we last saw that they finally got the fleece, but thanks to Clarice, they all almost drowned until Tyson, my sweetheart, such a cute child, he called on Rainbow the hippocampus, which we love. Honestly, I am not exactly a horse fan, but I think I can manage hippocampus. So, hippocampi comes. Rainbow brings a bunch of his friends, like two more friends, and since Rainbow is the biggest out of all, he can carry Tyson and Clarice. So he did that. One carried Percy and Annabeth, and the other carried Grover, and they were on their way. Annabeth was completely broken apart by Polyphemus, and so the fleece was mending her, and the fleece is like 3 kgs of 3 kilos of heavy gold, pure gold fleece, which is very heavy. If you don't know the weight, I held the 3 kgs of gold in my hand, so I know very heavy to even carry when you are injured. And we have um, Percy and Annabeth both falling asleep on hippocampi. Now let's move further in with chapter 17. We get a surprise on Miami Beach. So they went from Sea of Monsters, which is in the near Florida, west of Florida, I assume, and they are um, sorry. There are some guests, and I don't like guests at the anyway. So from Florida, the hippocampi bring them all the way to Miami. I'm assuming. So yes, the hippocampi brought them to Miami, which is great. So let's get started. Chapter 17. We get a surprise on Miami Beach. Percy, wake up. Salt water splashed on my face. Annabeth was shaking my shoulder. In the distance, the sun was setting behind a city skyline. I could see a beachside highway lined with palm trees, storefronts glowing with red and blue neon, a harbor filled with sailboats and cruise ships. Miami, I think, Annabeth said. But the hippocampi are acting funny. Sure enough, our fishy friends had slowed down and were whining and swimming in circles, sniffing the water. They didn't look happy. One of them sneezed. I could tell what they were thinking. This is as far as they'll take us, I said. Too many humans, too much pollution. We'll have to swim to shore on our own. None of us was very psyched about that, but we thanked Rainbow and his friends for the ride. Tyson cried a little. He unfastened the makeshift saddle pack he'd made, which contained his toolkit and a couple of things he'd salvaged from Birmingham wreck. He hugged Rainbow around neck, gave him a soggy mango he'd picked up on the island, and said goodbye. Once the hippocampi's white manes disappeared into the sea, we swam for the shore. The waves pushed us forward, and in no time we were back in the mortal world. We wandered along the cruise line docks, pushing through crowds of people arriving for vacations. Porters bustled around with carts of luggage. Taxi drivers yelled at each other in Spanish and tried to cut in line for customers. If anybody noticed us, five kids dripping wet and looking like they'd just had a fight with a monster, they didn't let on. Now that we were back among mortals, Tyson's single eye had blurred from the mist. Grover had put on his cap and sneakers. Even the fleece had transformed from sheepskin into a red and gold high school leather jacket with a large glittery omega on the pocket. Annabeth ran to the nearest newspaper box and checked the date on the Miami Herald. She cursed. June 18th. We've been away from camp 10 days. That's impossible, Clarice said, but I knew it wasn't. Time traveled differently in monstrous places. Thalia's tree must be almost dead. We have to get the fleece back tonight. Clarice slumped down on the pavement. How are we supposed to do that? Her voice trembled. We are hundreds of miles away. No money, no ride. This is just like the oracle said. It's your fault, Jackson, if you hadn't interfered. Percy's fault. Annabeth exploded. Clarice, how can you say that? You're the biggest. Stop it, I said. Clarice put her head on her in her hands. Annabeth stomped her foot in frustration. I mean, seriously, why are you blaming Percy for everything? Clarice, part of the problem. You are also part of the problem, actually. The thing was, I'd almost forgotten this quest was supposed to be Clarice's. For a scary moment, I saw things from her point of view. How would I feel if a bunch of other heroes had butted in and made me look bad? I thought about what I'd overheard in the boiler room of the CS Birmingham. Aries yelling at Clarice, warning her that she'd better not fail. Aries couldn't care less about the camp, but if Clarice made him look bad, Clarice, what did the oracle tell you exactly? I said. She looked up. I thought she was going to tell me off, but instead she took a deep breath and recited her prophecy. You shall sail the iron ship with warriors of bone. You shall find what you seek and make it your own. But despair for your life entombed within stone, and fail without friends to fly home alone. Ouch, Grover mumbled. No, I said, no, wait a minute, I've got it. I searched my pockets for money and found nothing but a gold drachma. Does anybody have any cash? Annabeth and Grover shook their heads morosely. Clarice pulled a wet Confederate dollar from her pocket and sighed. Cash? Like green paper? Tyson asked hesitantly. I looked at him. Yeah, like the kind in the duffel bags? Yeah, but we lost those bags days ago. I stuttered to a halt as Tyson rummaged in his saddle pack and pulled out the airtight bag full of cash that Hermes had included in our supplies. Tyson, how did you? I thought it was feedback for Rainbow. Found it floating in sea, but only paper inside. Sorry. Tyson, you big dork. So cute. Also, I sympathize with Tyson, and that is why he's a big dork and very sweet to me. There is no other reason, just making it clear. He handed me the cash. Fives and tens, at least $300. I ran to the curb and grabbed a taxi that was just letting out a family of cruise passengers. Clarice, come on. You are going to the airport. Annabeth, give her the fleece. I'm not sure which of them looked more stunned as I took the fleece leather jacket from Annabeth, tucked cash into its pocket, and put it in Clarice's arms. Clarice said, "You'd let me, it's your quest," I said. "We only have enough money for one flight. Besides, I can't travel by air. Zeus would blast me into a million pieces." That's what the prophecy meant. You'd fail without friends, meaning you'd need our help. But you'd have to fly home alone. You have to get the fleece back safely. I could see her mind working, suspicious at first, wondering what trick I was playing, then finally what I meant, deciding I meant what I said. She jumped in the cab. "You can count on me. I won't fail." No failing, not failing would be good. The cab peeled out in a cloud of exhaust. The fleece was on its way. "Percy, that was so," Annabeth said. "Generous?" Grover offered. "Insane," Annabeth corrected. You're betting the lives of everybody at camp that Clarice will get the fleece safely back by tonight? "It's her quest. She deserves a chance," I said. "Percy is nice," Tyson said. "Percy is too nice," Annabeth grumbled. But I couldn't help thinking that just maybe, she was a little impressed. I'd be surprised. I'd surprised her anyway, and that wasn't easy to do. I don't know, man. These little moments between Percy and Annabeth is everything more than anyone can ask for. "Come on," I told my friends. "Let's find another way home." That's when I turned and found a sword's point at my throat. "Hey, cuz," said Luke. "Welcome back to the States." His bear-man thugs appeared on either side of us. One grabbed Annabeth and Grover by their t-shirt collars. The other tried to grab Tyson, but Tyson knocked him into a pile of luggage and roared at Luke. "Percy," Luke said calmly, "tell your giant to back down or I'll have Aureus bash your friends' heads together." Aureus grinned and raised Annabeth and Grover off the ground, kicking and screaming. "What do you want, Luke?" I growled. He smiled, the scar rippling on the side of his face. He gestured towards the end of the dock and noticed what should have been obvious. The biggest boat in port was the Princess Andromeda. "Wow, Percy, I want to extend my hospitality, of course," Luke said. The Bearman twins herded us aboard the Princess Andromeda. They threw us down on the aft deck in front of a swimming pool with sparkling fountains that sprayed into the air. A dozen of Luke's assorted goons, snake people, Lystragonians, Lystragonians, demigods in battle armor, had gathered to watch us get some hospitality. "And so the fleece. Where is it?" Luke mused. He looked over us, prodding my shirt with the tip of his sword poking Grover's jeans. Hey, that's real goat fur under there, Grover yelled. Sorry, old friend, Luke smiled. Give me the fleece and I'll leave you to return to your uh, little nature quest. Grover protested. Some old friends. Maybe you didn't hear me. Luke's voice was dangerously calm. Where is the fleece? Not here, I said. I probably shouldn't have told him anything, but it felt good to throw the truth in his face. We sent it on ahead of us. You messed up. Luke's eyes narrowed. You're lying. You couldn't have. His face reddened as a horrible possibility occurred to him. Clarice? I nodded. You trusted? You gave? Yeah. Agrius. The bear man flinched. Yes. Get below and prepare my steed. Bring it to the deck. I need to fly to Miami Airport. Fast. But boss, do it, or I'll feed you to the dragon. Luke screamed. The bear man gulped and lumbered down the stairs. Luke paced in front of the swimming pool, cursing in ancient Greek, gripping his sword so tightly his knuckles turned white. The rest of Luke's crew looked uneasy. Maybe they'd never seen their boss so unhinged before. I started thinking if I could use Luke's anger, get him to talk so everybody could hear how crazy his plans were. I looked at the swimming pool, at the fountain spraying mist into the air, making a rainbow in the sunset, and suddenly I had an idea. You've been toying with us all along, I said. You wanted us to bring you the fleece and save you the trouble of getting it. Luke scowled. Of course, you idiot, and you've messed everything up. Traitor. I dug my last gold drachma out of my pocket and threw it at Luke. As I expected, he dodged it easily. The coin sailed into the spray of rainbow colored water. I hoped my prayer would be accepted in silence. I thought with all my heart, O goddess, accept my offering. You tricked all of us, I yelled at Luke. Even Dionysus at Camp Half Blood. He's smart. Behind Luke, the fountain began to shimmer, but I needed everyone's attention on me, so I uncapped Riptide. Luke just sneered. This is no time for heroics, Percy. Drop your puny little sword, or I'll have you killed sooner rather than later. Who poisoned Thalia's tree, Luke? I did, of course. I told you that. I used elder python venom, straight from the depths of Tartarus. Chiron had nothing to do with it? Ha! You know he would never do that. The old fool wouldn't have the guts. You call it guts? Betraying your friends? Endangering the whole camp? Luke raised his sword. You don't understand half of it. I'm going to let you take the fleece. Once I was done with it. That made me hesitate. Why would he let take the fleece? He must have been lying, but I couldn't afford to lose his attention. You were going to heal Kronos, I said. Yes, the fleece's magic would have sped his mending process by tenfold. But you haven't stopped us, Percy. You've only slowed us down a little. And so you poisoned the tree. You betrayed Thalia. You set us up, all to help Kronos destroy the gods. Luke gritted his teeth. You know that. Why do you keep asking me? Because I want everybody in the audience to hear you. What audience? Then his eyes narrowed. He looked behind him, and his goons did the same. They gasped and stumbled back. Above the pool, shimmering in the rainbow mist, was an iris message version of Dionysus, Tantalus, and the whole camp in the dining pavilion. They sat in stunned silence watching us. Well, Dionysus said dryly, some unplanned dinner entertainment. Mr. D, you heard him. You all heard Luke. The poisoning of the tree wasn't Chiron's fault, I said. I mean, Mr. D probably knew that it wasn't Chiron's fault, or probably not. Mr. D sighed. I suppose not. The iris message could be a trick, Tantalus suggested, but his attention was mostly on his cheeseburger, which he was trying to corner with both hands. I fear not, looking with distaste at Tantalus. It appears I shall have to reinstate Chiron as activities director. I suppose I do miss the old horse's pinnacle games. Tantalus grabbed the cheeseburger. It didn't bolt away from him. He lifted it from his plate and stared at it in amazement, as if it were the largest diamond in the world. I got it, he cackled. We are no longer in need of your services, Tantalus, Mr. D announced. Tantalus looked stunned. What? But you may return to Underworld. You are dismissed. No, but no! As he dissolved into mist, his fingers clutched to the cheeseburger, trying to bring it to his mouth. But it was too late. He disappeared, and the cheeseburger fell back onto its plate. Campers exploded into cheering. Luke bellowed with rage. He slashed his fingers at the cheeseburger, but the deed was done. I was feeling pretty good about myself until Luke turned and gave me a murderous look. Kronos was right, Percy. You're an unreliable weapon. You need to be replaced. I wasn't sure what he meant, but I didn't have time to think about it. One of his men blew a brass whistle, and the deck doors flew open. A dozen more warriors poured out, making a circle around us, the brass tips of their spears bristling. Luke smiled at me. You'll never leave. Sheesh, Luke needs a life. On to chapter 18. If, oh my god, I hope I get to chapter 20 because I want to finish this today. Then on Monday, in a bright new week, I can start a bright new journey of new book. Maybe book 3, maybe Aragon, who knows. But the poll is up on my Instagram, so don't forget to go there. Chapter 18. The Party Ponies Invade. One on one? I challenged Luke. What are you afraid of? Luke curled his lip. His soldiers, who were about to kill us, hesitated, waited for his order. Before he could say anything, Agrias, the bearman, burst into deck leading a flying horse. It was the first pure black Pegasus I had ever seen, with wings like a giant raven. Pegasus' mare bucked and whined. I could understand her thoughts. She was calling Agrias and Luke some names so bad Chiron would have washed her muzzle with some saddle soap. Sir, Agrias called, dodging a Pegasus hoof. Your steed is ready. Luke kept his eye on me. I told you last summer, Percy, you can't bait me into a fight. And you keep avoiding one, I noticed. Scared your warriors will see you get whipped. Luke glanced at his men and he saw I trapped him. If he backed down now, he would look weak. If he fought me, he'd lose valuable time chasing after Clarice. For my part, the best I could hope for was to distract him, giving my friends a chance to escape. If anybody could think of a plan to get them out of there, Annabeth could. On the downside, I knew how good Luke was at sword fighting. Between us, I love that Percy is intelligent himself, but still has a need to make sure that, not make sure, but still wants that Annabeth comes up with a plan. He is smart, he is intelligent, he could plan as well, but no, he leaves it to Annabeth because he trusts her so much. I don't know if you could tell, I'm enjoying myself over here. I'll kill you quickly, he decided, and raised his weapon. Backbiter was a foot longer than my own sword. Its blade glinted with an evil grey and gold light, where the human steel had been melted with celestial bronze. I could almost feel the blade fighting against itself, like two opposing magnets bound together. I didn't know how the blade had been made, but I sensed a tragedy. Someone had died in the process. Luke whistled to one of his men, who threw him a round leather and bronze shield. He grinned at me wickedly. Luke, at least give him a shield, Annabeth said. Sorry, Annabeth. You bring your own equipment to this party, he said. The shield was a problem. Fighting two handed with just a sword gives you more power, but fighting one handed with a shield gives you better defense and versatility. You should mark that. I will repeat that line again. Fighting two handed with just a sword gives you more power, but fighting one handed with a shield gives you better defense and versatility. There, wa- there are more moves, more options, more ways to kill. I thought back to Chiron, who told me to stay at camp no matter what and learn to fight. Now I was going to pay for not listening to Luke lunged and almost killed me on the first try. His sword went under my arm, slashing through my shirt and grazing my ribs. I jumped back, then counterattacked with Riptide, but Luke slammed my blade away with his shield. My Percy, Luke chided, you're out of practice. He came at me again with a swipe to the head. I parried, returned with a thrust. He sidestepped easily. The cut on my ribs stung. My heart was racing. When Luke lunged again, I jumped backwards into swimming pool and felt a surge of strength. I spun underwater, creating a funnel cloud, and blasted out of the deep end straight at Luke's face. Hold on, I want to tie my hair. This is getting annoying. The force of water knocked him down, spluttering and blinded. But before I could strike, he rolled aside and was on his feet again. I attacked and sliced off the edge of his shield, but that didn't even faze him. He dropped to a crouch and jabbed at my legs. Suddenly, my thigh was on fire with a pain so intense I collapsed. Probably the celestial side of the sword. My jeans were ripped above the knee. I was hurt. I didn't know how badly. Luke hacked downwards and I rolled behind a deck chair. I tried to stand, but my leg wouldn't take the weight. Percy! Grover. Oh my God. Grover bleated. I rolled again as Luke's sword slashed the deck chair in half, metal pipes and all. I clawed towards the swimming pool, trying hard not to black out. I'd never make it. Luke knew it too. He advanced slowly, smiling. The edge of his sword was tinged red. One thing I want to watch before you die, Percy. He looked at the bear man, Aureus, who was still holding Annabeth and Grover by the necks. You can eat your dinner now, Aureus. Bon appetit. He 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 he. The bear man lifted my friends and bared his teeth. That's when all Hades broke loose. Shh. It is a sound. If you think my mic I'm too close to mic, it's not. Wish is actually a sound. A red feathered arrow sprouted from Aureus' mouth. With a surprised look on his hairy face, he crumpled to death. "Brother!" Agrias wailed. He let the Pegasus' reins go and slacked just long enough for Black Steed to kick him in the head and fly free over Miami Bay. For a split second, Luke's guards were too stunned to do anything except watch the Bear twins' bodies dissolve into smoke. Then there was a wild chorus of war cries and hooves thundering against metal. A dozen centaurs charged out of the main stairwell. "Ponies!" Tyson cried with delight. My mind had trouble processing everything I saw. Chiron was among the crowd, but his relatives were almost nothing like him. There were centaurs with black Arabian stallion bodies, others with gold palomino coats, others with orange and white spots like paint horses. Some wore brightly colored T-shirts with day-glow letters that read "Party Ponies, South Florida Chapter." Some were armed with bows, some with baseball bats, some with paintball guns. One had face painted with like a Comanche warrior and was waving a large orange styrofoam hand, making a big number one. Another was bare chested and painted entirely green. A third had googly eyeglasses with eyeballs bouncing around on slinky coals, and one of those baseball caps with soda can and straw attachments on either side. Well, the centaurs are wild. They exploded onto the deck and such with such ferocity and color that for a moment even Luke was stunned. I couldn't tell whether they had come to celebrate or attack. Apparently both. As Luke was raising his sword to rally his troops, a centaur shot a custom made arrow with a leather boxing glove on the end. It smacked Luke in the face and sent him crashing in the swimming pool. Seriously, Luke, listen to your father. His warriors scattered. I couldn't blame them. Facing the hooves of a rearing stallion is scary enough, but when it's a centaur armed with a bow and whooping it up in a soda drinking hat, even the bravest warrior would retreat. "Come get some," yelled one of the party ponies. They let loose with their paintball guns. A wave of blue and yellow exploded against Luke's warriors, blinding them and splattering them from head to toe. They tried to run, only to slip and fall. Chiron galloped towards Annabeth and Grover, neatly plucked them off the deck, and deposited them on his back. I tried to get up, but my wounded leg still felt like it was on fire. Luke was crawling out of the pool. "Attack, you fools!" he ordered his troops. Somewhere down below the deck, a large alarm bell thumped. I knew any second we would be swarmed by Luke's reinforcements. Already his warriors were getting over their surprise, coming at centaurs with swords and spears drawn. Tyson slapped half a dozen of them aside, knocking them over with the guardrail into Miami Bay. But more warriors were coming up the stairs. "Withdraw, brethren," Chiron said. "You won't get away with this, horseman," Luke shouted. He raised his sword but got smacked in the face with another boxing glove arrow and sat down hard in the deck chair. The Palomino centaur hoisted me onto his back. "Dude, get your big friend." "Tyson, come on," I yelled. Tyson dropped the two warriors he was about to tie into a knot and jogged after us. He jumped on the centaur's back. Dude, the centaur groaned, almost buckling under Tyson's weight. Do the words low carb diet mean anything to you? I don't know why I'm doing that voice. Luke's warriors were organizing themselves into flanks, but by the time they were ready to advance, the centaurs had galloped to the edge of the deck and fearlessly jumped the guardrail as if it were a steel steeplechase and not 10 stories above the ground. I was sure we were going to die. We plummeted towards the docks, but the centaurs hit the tarmac with hardly a jolt and galloped off, whooping and yelling taunts at Princess Andromeda as we raced into the streets of downtown Miami. I have no idea what the Miamians thought as we galloped by. Streets and buildings began to blur as the centaurs picked up the speed. It felt as if space were compacting, as if each centaur s- step took us miles and miles. In no time, we'd left the city behind. We raced through marshy fields of high grass and ponds and stunted trees. Finally, we found ourselves in a trailer park at the edge of a lake. The trailers were all horse trailers, tricked out with televisions and mini refrigerators and mosquito netting. We were in a centaur camp. Dude, said the party pony as he unloaded his gear. Did you see that bear guy? He was like, whoa, I have an arrow in my mouth. The other centaur with the googly eye glasses laughed. That was awesome. Head slam! The two centaurs charged at each other full force and knocked heads, then went staggering off in different directions with a crazy grin on their faces.